think we've got a lot of people on. So with that, I will turn it over to our fabulous moderator, Deb Ellis, who's the treasurer of FAAR. Thank you so much for moderating today. And Deb, all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Kim just said, I'm the treasurer here at FAAR this year, and it's a privilege to be here moderating this panel for all of you. I have with us today Michele Freemyers from Ekko. Michele, do you want to wave?
I think we lost her.
I think we lost Michele. I'm not seeing Michele. Can anyone else see Michele?
No.
No? Okay, well, we'll grab Michele before we actually start. We have Laura Rodier with the title professionals here. Laura, thank you for joining us. And Jamie Dean with Locust Grove Title.
Michelle's back.
Sorry.
And we have the fabulous Michele back with us now.
Don't go anywhere. Stay right there. All of a sudden, it kicked me out. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. No worries. Thank you, Michele, for joining us. All three of their companies are part of our AMP program, and so we're very excited to have you joining us today. And all three of them have their virtual doors open to assist agents with any of their needs that we have in the market right now. So with that, let's just start asking a whole bunch of questions and see where we go. So I'm going to start with Michele. Can you give us a quick overview of how your business has adapted with the COVID-19 crisis and how you're still processing at this time?
Well, we are just going forward as best we can, like everybody else is. We've definitely moved some of our staff out of the office to work from home. So we kind of have a rotation of who's in, who's out of the office. Probably the biggest change is that we have decided, just from a safety standpoint, to close our doors to the public. So our office is closed. If you come up, it'll be locked. We're inside, but we're just trying to prevent the amount of people coming in and out and exposing us and my staff to potential problems. You know, if one of us gets it, the whole system shuts down. So that's pretty important for us to try to protect that. So that's kind of some of the measures that we're taking. And of course, we're doing all the closings in the parking lot, along with some online options too.
Great. Laura, how about with title professionals? What are we seeing over there?
Well, with title professionals, we've done a lot of those same things Ekko is doing. We've closed our doors to the public. We're available by appointment only, just to limit the amount of people that are in and out of our office every day. We're asking that people that come to closings, just the folks that have to sign, show up, that they don't bring, you know, spouses that don't have to sign, and they don't bring extended family members or realtors. Sorry, guys. Just to cut down on the number of people we have options for closing outside on our patio. We put a table out there with some chairs. We can do closings in the parking lot. We are still all coming to work, but we're all very spaced out. We also are providing masks for anyone that shows up for a closing that wants one. I think I've sent some of you masks also in the mail, just as a precaution. We have gloves. So we're trying to accommodate everyone as best we can, just to keep everybody safe.
Good. Good. Jamie, how about out in Locust Grove Title? What are we seeing out there?
Same thing. Close the doors, work from home, parking lot closings, sending documents ahead of time, giving people a chance to review them. You know, call with questions. We're pretty much doing it over the phone, and a meeting just to simply sign. It's keep everybody safe. And I think it actually taking the option away from people makes them feel more confident. Like they don't have to make that decision socially, which can be awkward. So we just say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And we'll meet you in the parking lot. We'll sign our papers, take it that way.
Good. So what's one tip that you can give the agents for keeping the closing on track? Jamie, let's start with you. Can you give us one tip that you would give all of the agents?
Oh, we just communicate. Tell them what's going on, you know, let them know that everything's changed and we're just doing the best we can with what we have currently to work with. Just talk seriously, just let them know what's going on. I think everybody knows what's going on, but sometimes they need to be reminded that we're reinventing the wheel pretty quickly.
Good. Laura, what are you seeing?
I agree with Jamie, absolutely, with communication, because what we are seeing is it's taking longer to get things we need. It's taking longer for us to get things from HOA, and it's taking longer for us to get the VOEs in. So the sooner we know upfront information, the faster we can get things processed. Another thing we're having issues with is people are working from home. So if your company doesn't accept wires, we don't know where to send commission checks, and we're having to chase folks down to figure that out, which is not something that we ever thought we'd have to do. So if y'all want your commission checks, please let us know where you are. Where can we send them so that you get paid quickly, which is important.
That's a great point, because if they're not doing wires, then you need to disperse. And so if you don't know where to go, it does make it a lot more challenging to be able to get the agents paid. So all of you on this call, keep that in mind. Whatever title company that you're using, make sure they know where to send that money to, so that we can pay you for all your hard work done. Michele, what about you? What's the number one thing that you would say right now to keep the closing on track?
I would just say prep your clients. Some of the clients have been very easygoing and cooperative about how we're having to do signings. Other people, it seems like it's really adding some stress to them. So when you have those clients, it's always a great idea to just let us know how your clients are doing. Some people need a lot more hand-holding. Some people don't want hand-holding. We're finding that for those people that are a little more anxious about the circumstance, if we can get them the docs ahead of time and review that with them in a more over the phone kind of casual environment before they come to the parking lot to sign, they seem to do a little bit better. So I would just really say know your clients and share that information with us so that we can meet them wherever they need us, wherever they need us to meet them.
Great. All great, helpful info. We're getting a lot of questions about e-notaring. Are any of you able to do e-notarization for closings right now?
Go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am an e-notary, but there's Michele would probably know too, there's a whole platform involved with actually doing transactions that way. So I know it's being done, but they're not as easy as you would think to do. There's a lot. And
there are many. Oh, I'm sorry, Jamie.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There are so many layers of that remote online notary process that I don't think people realize. It's not just as simple as, oh, we've got a webcam. I'll show you my ID and you can see that I'm signing and notarize. It's not like that. I think I assume we're all moving towards it. We definitely have things in place that we're trying to get going with remote online notary and e-closings, but it's not simple.
So Michele?
Yep. So there are about 5 or 6 national companies that are set up to do this, and we are all insurance salespeople. That's what we do. We sell insurance, and so we are all 3 of us guided by our title underwriters. And so there are maybe 5 or 6 providers that the underwriters have approved for us to do these kind of circumstances with. Doc Verify is one, Signix is one, Notary Cam is one, and the way these systems work is I basically say, I've got a closing for tomorrow. I upload all the documents to this portal. They are a notary, and so what happens is you kind of get on a 3-way call with me, the client, the notary, and I'm explaining the documents. The client is seeing it. They're electrically signing them, so much like DocuSign. And then the e-notary is notarizing them. So we've been doing that for a lot of our seller side transactions. We give that as an option. We also are doing mailaways, but the problem with any of these platforms is really with our buyers and the loan programs. The lenders require a wet signature on the note. They will not accept an e-notary on the note. And so that is where we're finding a problem with the lenders. For example, Ameribank in town is the one lender that says you can do all your documents online this way digitally, but we still need the note and the deed of trust signed wet signature. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to go to the whole problem and create a problem for my client of uploading all the documents and then still having them come to the parking lot to sign the note and the deed of trust. That's just not, that seems a little silly. So from the borrower perspective, we're really kind of at a standstill, at least I'd be curious to hear if anybody else has had any luck with this, but most of the lenders are not approving the use of those systems. So for the borrowers, we're not there yet, and we're not there because the lenders need original notes. But for sellers, we could do it.
For sellers, you're set up, but as far as the buyers go,
Yep.
it's really the lender that's kind of
Yep.
dictating if that can happen or not.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, one of the things that I'm finding is when we give clients the option to do those systems, a lot of them do not have they're in the middle of moving, they don't have their computer set up, they may not be, I mean, as tech savvy as some of us, and I'm certainly not I'm not on the program either, but some of them are having challenges with that. And what they say when we offer that is, can I just come to your office? Or if we offer mail-aways, they say, well, I've still got to go find a notary, so why can't I just come to your office to do it? So we're finding kind of a lot of pushback where the clients really just prefer to come to where they're supposed to come to sign, and we're having to figure out how to get those documents notarized.
Great.
I have a follow-up question from a FAAR perspective. I've read a lot about NAR pushing for sort of a nationwide e-notary authorization. Would that change the way the lenders are behaving, or does that not have anything to do with it?
I think it's great that NAR is pushing it, and I know that local VAR is pushing it as well, but the issue really comes down to what our state statutes say about how lenders can foreclose and what the foreclosure rules are. And right now in Virginia, the foreclosure rules are they've got to be able to produce an original note with a wet signature. And so I've always kind of felt like until that changes at the legislative area, we're still going to be doing wet signatures with paper for the majority of our documents. So, you know, if people come in and say, "Gosh, I can't believe we're still signing all this paper. This seems crazy in this electronic age," and I just don't know that that is the priority for the legislature. It might be now, but it hasn't in the past. Great.
So what are some of the other biggest issues that you three are seeing right now? I mean, obviously with the COVID-19, the getting things signed and people wanting e-notarization, but we can't do the e-notary. What are some of the other big issues that you are having to deal with right now? Michele, we'll start with you.
You know, we're not seeing, other than the volume dropping a little bit, you know, January and February and even into March, we had record case numbers in, record over 10 years. I mean, it was rocking and rolling. So the case numbers now have slowed, but we are still seeing a high influx of cases coming in. We are also seeing some cases cancel, and I'm interested to see kind of what the lenders do with some of the FHA and VA loans and whether what Scott Hine was talking about last week with the lenders really plays out. We've lost one transaction on an FHA where the loan got denied because the credit score was below what was now required for FHA when it was approved before. So that's kind of what I'm worrying about. But I haven't seen too much of that come through. I did a USDA loan today that went to closing. So I'm hopeful that we're not gonna get there.
Good. Laura, what are you seeing right now as some of your biggest issues?
Like Michele said, we had record numbers, and then we have seen a bit of a decline, not an alarming decline, but a bit of a decline in our number of orders that we've got coming in each week. Some of the issues I polled everyone in our company to say, hey, what are you facing? What have you noticed? And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, one of the things we are noticing is it's getting us a little bit longer to get information just because some places are working with less staff. We're having, you know, to get a payoff number from a bank is taking a little bit longer. To get information from HOAs is taking a little bit longer. And just be aware of that. And if we're asking for information from you, get it to us right away. Don't sit on it. Don't wait for it. Just because it's taken us a little bit of a time to accumulate what we need to get you to closing on time.
So Laura, since you have mentioned that it is taking longer to get that information, that before we used to be able to do a closing in approximately 30 days, how much extra time would you recommend for agents to be extending out that whole closing process?
I don't know that we need to push it out particularly far. It's just the sooner we get the information we need from you, the better. the better. You know, if we can be provided with information up front instead of having to ask for it, that helps. You know, if we can know right away commission splits, that'd be great, instead of us having to reach back out and find people. The more information we have up front, and just like Jamie mentioned earlier, just communicate with us, and be receptive to our communications as well, because we, now more than ever, we all need to work together as a team, because we all have the same goal in mind, whether it's, you know, we're the title company for the buyers and the sellers have a different title company. We all have to work together because these are interesting times and we got to help each other.
Right. And no matter what or how you look at it, you still have a buyer that wants to buy and a seller that wants to sell. So we need to do everything we can to bring that process together. Jamie, what challenges are you seeing right now that we have not already discussed?
Getting the loan package. Actually, I guess they're sending out these employment verifications, and some of the lenders actually aren't releasing the documents to us until the borrower signs that they still have a job. And part of the new process, what we're doing is we're getting the loan documents ahead of time, securely sending them to be reviewed prior to them attending closing. So for them to get that letter signed back to their lender to get us, so they can finally release the package to us, is causing a little bit of delay. So that is one of the concerns that I've been running into.
And so based on that, I'm hearing some of our lenders saying that we should be extending out and not expect a 30-day close. And based on what you're saying, you're also nodding, saying, yes, we should probably extend that to about 45 to 60 days, do you think? Or do you think 45 is close enough? What are you seeing?
I don't know. It really depends on the situation per person. You know, some people aren't as affected as other people as far as their employment goes. But I mean, never say, you know, not give yourself enough time. So give yourself enough time, but that letter that they're sending out is important. And I think that people might not see it as important because they've, you know, done their CD, they've acknowledged it, and now it's the day before closing and they think everything's fine. But we definitely need them to do that so we can definitely get our loan docs so we can get them done, send them out, let you review them, meet in the parking lot.
Right. Good. Very good. So one of the questions that I know we get asked is our client wants to do a 100% remote closing. They don't want to have to leave their house. So this kind of ties us back into the e-notarizing. However, how are the three of you functioning when a client says, I don't want to, or maybe I just can't leave my house for whatever that reason is? How are you able to adjust and help them out with that? Laura?
Well, I mean, as Michele pointed out earlier, some things absolutely require a wet signature, and that's not our rule. That's the way it is. So, I mean, there's, you know, we have the platforms where we can upload most of the documents and get them signed and remotely notarized. And I think this might be a good time to address the terminology. E-notarization and remote online notarization are different things. Mm-hmm. E-notarization is without paper. We're in the same room together. You're signing on a computer. I'm notarizing it right there. I'm with you. Remote online notarization is we are in two completely separate places using a virtual platform to sign. And if someone said they couldn't, we'd have to figure out a way. We'd have to upload as much as we possibly could and have them sign that way, go through the remote or go through the e-closing as much as we could, and then perhaps just go to them with the documents and slide them under their door and have, I mean, we'd have to figure out a way, notarize through the glass of their screen door. We'd figure out a way to do it if they absolutely couldn't leave their house. I mean, we offer remote closings. We've definitely done it before. We'd find the safest way possible to make it happen.
Good. Jamie, have you been faced with this yet?
Yeah, we have. But I mean, it really falls back to most of the lenders aren't ready for it yet. Like Michele was saying, you know, to have those notes signed, it's just really not an option. So as much as we would like to accommodate, sometimes we can't. And we'll do whatever we can to meet you in the parking lot, meet you in your garage, you know, whatever it takes. Give you your documents ahead of time, look at them, let's go over it over the phone, and then I'll meet you. Hand you your papers, just sign them for me, and we'll go on with as limited contact, whatever is necessary to make you feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Michele, have you been faced with that one yet?
You know, I haven't. Everybody's, I've had some people that are a little more concerned than others, but It seems like most of the clients are just so thankful that this process is actually happening and moving forward, that they're on board to do just about anything to get it to close. So they've been very, very flexible and really good spirited about it. So I haven't had that situation happen, but you know, like I said, for a buyer, that's just not going to be an option.
Right.
So seller, absolutely.
All right, very good. I know I've seen in my little chat thing, it's popped up a couple times. Kim, do you want to see what questions we might have?
We had a question about, is there an extra cost for, I guess, either of the processes, the e-notarization or the online notarization?
That's a good one.
Most of the service providers that have the notary platform run anywhere $120, $150 for the service. One of the things that I will note is that when you're doing those services, you have to schedule your time way in advance. So I had tried to do one for a Monday closing, and I had tried to set it up on a Thursday, and they were completely booked Monday, Tuesday. I couldn't get an appointment till the following Wednesday, which means that's almost 5 days in advance. So it goes back to kind of what Jamie and Laura were both saying about us if we don't have the stuff in advance, we can't upload them to set up the appointment for next week. So that is kind of self-limiting. If you think about how many providers there are for these services and everyone across the country is trying to pop on here, they're being overwhelmed. So that is kind of self-limited the amount of those options. And when you tell the clients that there's an additional cost to it, most of them are just like, that's just not something they're interested to do.
Very good. Kim, were there any other questions?
We can't hear Kim.
Kim, you're muted. We cannot hear you.
Sorry, jumped the gun there. Okay. Are you seeing most agents utilize the COVID-19 addendum in the recently ratified contracts or no?
I've seen one.
Yeah, we've heard that it's not been like crazy widely embraced, and that's what you're seeing too.
Like I said, I've seen one come through in the last few weeks, just one. So,
Michele, are you seeing them at all?
Why aren't people using it?
I'm seeing it on I am seeing it on almost every transaction we have, and I'm seeing it filled out completely wrong. I'm not sure why it's being used if it's not being filled out correctly. There's an option on the VAR form where you're supposed to check whether the extensions are being extended by all the deadlines are being extended by a set amount of days, or there's another option for you to extend specific deadlines. And what is happening, I don't think I've seen one of these that have been filled out correctly, to be completely honest. People are just not picking the options, or they're picking both options. So I feel like this is a huge no-go problem. Like, if you're not going to fill it out correctly, if you're not going to take the time to do it, you should not be having your client sign this document. I feel like the contract has opportunities for everyone to be protected without having to use this, but it's there for a reason. So if you're going to use it, let's make sure we know what it is and let's use it the right way, because otherwise it's not doing any good, and it's just not good.
So Michele, you brought up a great point where agents are filling out both portions, and so therefore they're almost undoing the whole purpose of that entire addendum.
Yep.
So can you go into that just a little bit further, since we do have so many people joined with us today? I think this would be a great time to maybe let's educate on the proper use of the addendum.
Sure. So basically, I think the point of this COVID addendum that that NVAR, let's be clear, that NVAR put out was to allow for, what do we do in case of, the next shoe that drops? We don't know what's going to happen. So it allows for extensions of basically all the major contingencies, including settlement. So, you could basically extend everything by 15 days. So the section 3 basically says, hey, all deadlines under this contract, including settlement date, are going to be extended by blank amount of days. I don't really know when you would use that, because we haven't had that situation where everything needs to be extended. Although maybe you could, if somebody lost their job or was temporarily laid off, that would be a situation where you'd want to do that. But I feel like in that situation, you would, when and if that happened in your case, you would then go to this addendum and say, hey, we're going to just extend everything by a certain amount of days. But of course, remember, there's nothing to prevent you guys from going and grabbing a blank addendum and saying, hey, we're going to extend everything by X amount of days. So, but that's what that option is. Option 4 are specific extensions. So here they list specifically, it says the following check deadlines and or settlement dates are extended by blank days. And then you basically check off boxes: settlement date, home inspection deadline, radon testing deadline, financing, appraisal. Well, every addendum you could think of is listed here. But again, I don't know that when you are at the point of ratifying your contract, you're going to know what portion of this is going to be necessary, not necessary, helpful, not necessary. I think it's going to be more of an ad hoc basis. And I feel like at that point, everybody will know what the issue is, and hopefully everybody would be working together to get the ball over, the finish line.
Great. Laura and Jamie, do you have anything to add to those points that Michele just made?
I think actually I've not had any problem with those COVID addendums. I'm getting them.
Yep.
Seems to be.
Like I said, we aren't really seeing that many of them. I agree with Michele. I mean, you can do the same thing with your contract with a regular addendum if you need to do an extension. I think that might be what realtors are doing, just because they're not familiar with how to correctly fill out the COVID addendum. And I saw in the chat that there's some resources now for how to correctly fill that out. So
Great.
If anyone's looking at the chat, that's a good place to go.
Great. Awesome. Kim, do we have any more points that you want to bring out?
We had another question in the chat. So far, real estate's been deemed essential, and we're keeping the courts open. Have you heard anything about that changing? I have personally not heard anything about that changing, and VAR keeps us very in the loop from the state perspective. They've worked very hard to maintain real estate as an essential service, and we are very lucky in Virginia versus some other states that we're still able to practice business. So the message that I have from VAR that they've asked us is to keep doing what we're doing and doing it safely. That the best thing is that article we had in the paper that showed one of our agents with Purell and, saying about virtual showings. If we keep doing it well and people don't go to the governor saying, look at all these open houses that realtors are having, they think we're going to be okay. And so far, kudos to you all for making that shift.
Mm-hmm. Has Michele or Jamie or Laura, have you heard anything different?
No, I haven't.
No, land records are considered essential.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
My law partner is a delegate down in Richmond, so he is kind of in the know about this stuff too. And they have no plans, to try to shift this back. But similar to what Kim said, so long as we're all kind of following the rules and doing what we're supposed to be doing, I think it's really important that we be leaders in that area.
Mm-hmm. Agree. And there's so many great ways that we can be doing business virtually. There's so many tools and resources out there to really limit the contact that we have going in and out of houses nowadays. So, Kim, any more questions for us from the group?
I don't have a question in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. So if you either couldn't use the chat or you're on your phone and you can't find it, go ahead and jump in. So everybody should be able to speak. If there's any questions, go ahead, and unless you muted yourself. If you muted yourself,
then unmute you.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Not seeing anybody else.
I'd like to add something about the recordings that I should have talked about earlier. So you guys know we had the whole courthouses were supposed to closed and then they reopened, and there was all that like craziness. So, at this point, all the counties, well, the majority of the counties are doing the e-recordings. There are some counties that in our area where they are not set up for e-recordings. I'm thinking Orange County, Jamie, Laura, who else is it? Louisa, right? Who else, Jamie?
I don't think Culpeper is.
No, yeah, Culpeper.
All the ones that I do mostly with.
Yeah. So in those jurisdictions, we're not e-recording. You know, some of them have some really wonky requirements of like, we're going to FedEx the documents and it's going to be in some, you know, bucket in right outside the courthouse, and they're going to pick it up 3 times a day. So your clients, especially in the outerlying counties, need to realize, especially those sellers need to understand, you know, it could be a couple days for the recording and the disbursement of the files. And all of us have forms, their indemnity gap underwriting documents that basically we have people sign, saying, hey, you know that there could be some delays, but that is one thing that, you know, sellers are not happy when there's that kind of delay, but that is what's happening. And even on the e-recording ones, the e-recordings, though, going fantastic, I might add. Like, I'm so excited that this kind of spurred Stafford, Spotsy, the city, King George to kind of get on board with the e-recordings. And so I'm really happy about that as a offshoot of the rest of this. But even still, they're having limited recording times, you know, maybe from 9 to 12 every day, so that after that there's no e-recordings. And one thing that you guys should understand, that you need to make sure your clients understand, is that these are not e-recordings. Think of them more like e-submissions. So we all submit them electronically, and there has to be somebody on the other side that says yes and clicks the button. So just because we have submitted it doesn't mean it's recorded yet. There is somebody at the county that has to play along with that. So, you know, there was a lot of concern about, well, if the courthouses do close, will we still be able to do e-recording? No, we won't, because there's not somebody at the other end to do that. It looks like that's not going to happen. We're going to be fine with that, but it is an e-submission, not an immediate e-record.
Great, that's all great info. Michele, what happens, or Laura or Jamie, what happens with those courthouses that are not able to do e-recordings yet, and it is taking an extended period of time? What are you seeing as far as, are keys still being handed over at the time of signature, or are the sellers requesting keys to be held until it actually records? Are we seeing any issues with any of that at this time?
I haven't seen that at all.
Great.
Keys are still being handed over as scheduled. I mean, closing has occurred once all the documents are signed and the funds are received, and you know, recordings, we're just figuring it out as best we can. If we can do the e-submission, then we do, and if we can't, then we trot ourselves over to the courthouse and, you know, leave it under the tree or whatever weird direction. And I'm kidding, you don't do that, but it's almost what it felt like, trying to figure out where we're supposed to leave documents and pick them up. And we'll pick them up at, you know, 12 and 2 and 4, but, you know, so we're figuring it out. It's working. And like Michele said, we're really glad things got a little fast tracked. It's going better than we had thought it would, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic to hear. Jamie, are you seeing any issues out towards the west at all?
No, I have a very good relationship with my clerks. Best thing I can do, I have a very good relationship. I actually feel like they've been very good at communicating. I do think that if I call them, they're willing to talk to me. I do think I had signed up for online access to the land records to kind of back up that, like, if I can't get them to answer the phone, I can look and see if it's there myself. But overall, I think they're all working with us, which is what we all need to do. Just, hey, we're all in this together.
Yes, absolutely. We all are in this together for sure.
Deb?
Yes.
I have had some addendums come across that specifically say keys are not going to be delivered until the transaction is recorded. I haven't seen them recently, but like maybe 2 weeks ago, when kind of we were in the crazy, I was getting a lot of contracts that said keys aren't going until it's recorded. So those closings haven't occurred yet. So I'll be curious to see if that follows through with that. But
so it's almost as if those contracts were written the first couple of days when the courthouses were closed, not closed, closed, not closed. Okay. Yeah. It's good to know. Good to know for all of us agents that is definitely out there, and to keep our eyes open for that, and for the brokers that are joining us today as well. Any other questions or anything that you have for our amazing attorneys here?
Any questions, anybody? This is your chance. I did see one comment in the chat just said that this will change everything going forward. Just curious about whether all of you, Deb, all of you, do you agree with that? Are we going to get back to business as usual beforehand, or is this going to change it all?
I think it's going to be better.
I do too.
I think it will be better because we have figured out some tools to streamline things a little bit better. You know, like the e-recordings, I think it's going to be better. I think none of us want to give up our in-person at the settlement table transactions. I mean, that's what we enjoy. That's the best part of this business. And I think we would always all hope to reinstate that, but also have these options for people that it just can't happen.
I agree. Some of the things that I have seen on my end have definitely been new tools, new technology, and just better ways to do some of the way we've been doing our business now seems to be so much better and so much easier and a little bit more not as time consuming. So I think that we're going to come out of this and we're going to be able to reflect and say, this was the positive. Let's change things this way, or that just didn't work at all. So let's go back to the way we used to do that. So definitely, I agree. Any other questions for our panel? Anything while we've got them here?
I got nothing in the chat. Last chance, folks.
Jamie, Laura, or Michelle, do you have anything to add? Oh, I think I saw Sherry, your hand went up, but you have to unmute, Sherry.
Let me find her. Unmute. Sherry,
Everyone looks really good.
You all do, yeah.
Okay, I was trying just to type it, but I just want to know, how do we get a headset like Michelle's? I want one of those.
Dude.
That would make, like, of course, I want mine to be a little bit more like J-Lo, but that would make it so amazing since we're all doing this like Zoom thing now. So did you have that already, or did you get it special?
No, this is my son's gamer setup. I came home to set up the gamer chair. I've got a gamer chair behind me. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Okay.
I'll trade you. I'll trade you. That's all I'm going to say.
Anyone else? Michelle, Laura, or Jamie, do you have any last words of wisdom for everyone?
Go sell some
Still here.
houses.
Go sell some houses.
Go sell them.
Yep, we're still here. You sell the houses, we're here on the other end of it, and we'll make it go as smoothly as we possibly can for everybody.
Fantastic. Jamie, do you have any last words of wisdom?
I agree. Just everybody being patient and knowing that we're all in it. We're going to get it done. It's just a matter of working together to do it. Seriously.
Great. Well, I want to thank my fabulous panel. You guys have been very informative today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy days and the craziness that's going on right now to come and help all of us to be able to work more fluently for you as well and for all of our clients. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I hope that you found this valuable and worth your time. And most importantly, I want all of you to please stay healthy and stay safe out there. So please stay home as much as you possibly can and still be able to do your business virtually. And remember, FAAR, the association, we are all here to help you. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us at any time, and we'd be more than happy to help. And or if you have ideas of more things like this you want to see, please reach out to Barbara. She would be more than happy, and or Kim, to be able to add it into our education and as well as to the panels that Kim has been bringing to us. So with that, I'll pass it back to Kim.
Thank you.
I can't say anything better. Thank you to everybody, and we hope to see you soon.
Okay.